guys, welcome back. I'm so happy we're here again at the West Elmira Library Thursday night at 7, and we're going to do some cooking. Before we get started, I am going to do my trusty trick. I'm going to put my apron on. I hope everyone had a great week. I'm happy for those who watched. Maybe some more people would like to watch. I'm trying to get a little quicker at this, just to let you know. And if you have any ideas or suggestions or even criticism, just let us know at Facebook at CCLD, and we will be happy to at least address them. I don't know what they are, so I don't know how well I'll be at addressing them, but I will certainly try. So for those that have not joined, I like to pull my hair back, not just pull it, brush it back, put it up in a scrunchie that I've already taken to a lint roll, and then I like to lint roll because I love cooking. I do a lot of cooking. I have never found hair in my cooking, and I don't ever want to. So I'm not even just doing this for you guys or for a show by any means. I would be embarrassed if there was hair in my food. And believe it or not, even though we're doing this here at the library, people are eating this food afterwards. So I have to be careful. And I have a hand sanitizer. Just so everyone knows, I did sanitize this whole area. And obviously my dishes and everything have been washed. So let's get started. All right, we're going to do French bread pizza. It's going to be a little French, it's going to be a little Greek, it's going to be a little Italian. We are going to just have a festivity of everything. So, to get started, I wanted to let you know I took French bread. So, I have already cut it. Voila! Had no idea it was magical, did you? At an angle. So this was probably about this long. I was able to get 3 sets out of this. I cut them all at an angle. And then I took them, excuse me, I have some crumbs. I took them after and I put them in an oven at 350. And as I've mentioned before, it totally depends on your oven, if it's older, if it's brand new, etc. So, my oven's a little bit older, 350. I put it, and you might not be able to see from home, but I put it on the rack so I would have the rack marks. Now, you might think, I don't know what you think, but you can tell me. But I thought to myself, put butter on them. And then I thought, oh my goodness, then I can't have the rack marks, because if you put butter on them and put them in your oven to get the rack marks, the butter obviously is going to melt and burn. So I toasted mine, and I would suggest you toast yours on your racks without butter. They come out like this. You do not want to over toast them, so just keep an eye on them. I'd say mine were in maybe 3 to 4 minutes. But I kept an eye on them, and my oven's not like the best. So, and then I took them out, and you might think butter. I decided that whipped butter would be better because it's so much easier to spread. And since I know today's a really nice day, but with the heat, I don't like to keep my butter out. So I just bought some real spreadable butter, salted, because I like salt. And then I just spread it on like this. Because I'm going to be putting toppings, I didn't want to have to fight with the butter. See? No fight there. Absolutely simple. And everyone knows that this is not like low calorie or fat free or anything. Butter is awesome, especially on a piece of French bread. And as that is being said, any bread, butter is really good. So, I'm going to do 2 different. I am going to do one with artichokes olives, feta cheese, and I took a can of artichokes and drained them. Like this. Can of olives. I like jumbo. Drained them. My cute little drainer. And then I'm going to move these aside. And I'm also going to put some tomato on it. So, with my trusty, oh my goodness, Miss Ahnece forgot a knife. I need a knife to slice my olives and my tomatoes and my artichokes. You know what? If for some reason I didn't have them, say we were out in the forest, I'd just take my little olive like this and make little pieces. You can do anything. You don't have to have a knife. But thank you very much. I have one now. So we will do slices. So just very quickly, some slices of olives. And you don't need a lot. As you can see, our bread is not that big. So there's 2. And then the artichokes. Please make sure they're drained because it's going on the bread. Even after drained, when you slice them, more juice is produced. So, and these kind of, if you can see from home, they kind of fall apart totally fine. You can even break these apart. So I'm going to go with 2 for just 1 piece of French bread cut 3 times, then cut lengthwise in half makes, can you guess, quite a bit. 9. And so if you're going to make that many, you do not need one to fill you. You want to be able to try different things. So you don't need a lot of toppings. So there's the artichoke and the olives. I have my feta, and I'm going to slice a ripe vine tomato. Now, I've said before, I'll say again, tomatoes are nothing like from the store, like from the garden. But if you do have to purchase them, you don't have to get the vine ones. Beefsteak are fine if you purchase them and keep them home for a couple days. And what you do is you go like this, and if you can squeeze it a little bit, most likely it's going to be ripe. So, oh, I can smell this one, so I am very thankful. Oh my goodness, it smells incredible. So I'm going to go with, I'll probably just use those 2 slices. And put my knife over here. Now, this particular one was with they're all with the butter and the bread. Tomato, artichokes, olives, feta cheese. And then for the tomatoes, I used a little cute rosemary lavender sea salt. Now, you can use anything, but this stuff is really, really flavorful. So I'm just going to put it on all my tomato. And of course, you use the amount that you prefer. So I'm going to move my bread over. And this is super, super easy. Just going to take this, put my tomato down, the artichoke in between. Oh, I wanted to mention, when I cut the bread, be gentle with it. Don't smush it down to try to get your bread knife through. And then I learned a new trick today. Instead of trying super hard to push it because it crushes, especially if it's fresh, which mine had just come out of the oven, I used scissor knives and cut up the middle. It was a great new trick that I learned today. So, but once you get your toppings on, and since it's already toasted, you can press down a little bit. But the cheese is going to be last, and that is going to help hold it together. And the olives, and I just like things to look nice. Not even by any means, but definitely I like to place my things accordingly. So that's how I would do that. And then a little fresh ground pepper. Once again, it depends on your pepper mill and your peppercorns. That was like 3-4 little twists. And I can smell it. Awesome. And then the feta cheese. I just crumpled it on there like that. And when I was doing this at home, it was kind of a little dry. So I took a little bit of white balsamic vinaigrette. So it's kind of like a salad dressing, but not, because we're going to do that with the other one. So a little of that and a little olive oil. And what would be awesome would be fresh basil, which I did not have at the time, because cooking is about creating and doing whatever you can at that moment with what you have. And I didn't think it was gonna need green. I figured I had green in the other thing, but then I looked at it after it was in the oven and I'm like, this needs a little green. So I put some dried basil on it, which if I had fresh, I definitely would have used it. But one thing about dried spices is if you take them out of the container and put them in something and then you crunch them, rub them really hard, even though they're not fresh, they have far more flavor because you've done that and not just dashed them out of the container. So, voila! Put it in the oven. I kept my oven on 350 and I just kept an eye on it. So that was one, and I'll show you what it looks like. It came out like this, and I'm certain it's kind of a little, it could be like puffed up a little bit more, but you know what? We're working with the times, and I had to transport it. So, but that's that. Voila! Secret French pizza. And now we're going to do another one. So, I took the piece of bread, and this one I did with fresh spinach. However, I used something that I am not going to mention where I purchased this, but it's called Garlic Expressions. You can go on a little scavenger hunt. This stuff is absolutely brilliant. It is so phenomenal, so delicious. It does say to shake vigorously, and you honestly need to. So I did that and poured some in the bowl, which I have right here. Before I did that, I bought fresh spinach in the bag, and then I took the pieces and took the stems off. So for instance, an example would be this stem off. They were all different sizes, does not matter. It's going to wilt with the dressing and in the oven. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to add a few more because I had already used some of those. And I'm just going to add them all. We always have more of our fancy garlic expression. Oh my goodness, that smells awesome. You know, you should not do this when you're hungry. However, it does make me certainly want to make it again, which I hope you guys do. So just kind of mix that up. It's going to be easier with my hand. I know it's a little greasy, but you know what? Cooking is not meant to be a super clean. I mean, it's clean, but it can be messy. All right. Oh my gosh, that smells so good. So, some spinach. on there like that. You don't need too much. And I have an issue with things being a certain way. I don't like my spinach leaves to be upside down, but you don't have to worry about that. So I'm gonna wipe my hand again and get my towel. So the spinach, which has been marinated, I'm going to do some ricotta for cheese. And I just bought ricotta from the store. Take a little. And there's a little juice there I'm going to take off. And it's kind of nice to do it in clumps. Oops. Move that aside. So a little clumpy. I like it that way. I'll move that aside. And then I took roasted red peppers. Now, I used my trusty colander, took them from a jar, poured them in there in the sink, and drained them. However, they are still very moist. So I used a paper towel, my trusty paper towels, and I patted them down. And actually, I wanted to show you this. I didn't just pat them down. I squeezed them. You can take these and you watch. This paper towel is going to be wet. Even though I drained them. So I would suggest you do that. And I had some cut up already, but for those that are not, I took my trusty kitchen scissors, or if you want to be real cool, you can call them culinary scissors. And I just did little strips. Once again, to each his own. I just like the different sizes. The spinach was one size. This is a different with a strip. They call it julienne, but you can call it whatever you'd like. So nice and easy. And then I just took the peppers like that, and the dressing already has lots of garlic and onion and a few other things. You'll have to try it out. And then I did put a little fresh ground pepper, and then I took prosciutto. And you just buy this in the store like this. And just a trick real quick. This, you'll never use a whole package. I mean, maybe if you're doing a graduation party or a wedding, but so I always cut on the side and around, and then I just stick it right back in there. If you don't feel that's going to keep it well enough, or you're going to keep it for a super long time, or you'd like to freeze it, just put it in a Ziploc. But if you rip it, it's just not cool to rip this thing open. This is the cool way, right here. I like that. I'm going to set that aside. And then once again, I use the kitchen scissors. Even though this does rip right off the parchment paper, I still like to have my scissors on hand. I'm going to put that aside, use my trusty towel. And you could cut this, like I said, or rip. Depends on how you really want it. Either way, that's ripping, and that's like cutting. So, I mean, it's, you know, what do they say? Half a dozen, full dozen. So, like this. in the oven. I'm going to move this aside. My trusty towel. Put that in the oven. Now, when you put these back in the oven, you're going to want them on a cookie sheet with some aluminum foil because it is going to drip. Put that back in the oven, and I just kept an eye on them. Not that long, but everything's pre-cooked, so that's totally fine. But you want it to like blend and melt together. I would serve it like this, and here is one that has come out of the oven. So it kind of shrinks down, as you can see. The presentation of this is definitely better than this at this moment, but when it comes right out of your oven, this is the one you're gonna want. So I would take both of them, put them in the oven, and then for presentation, you can put them all on a long platter down the middle of, say, a picnic table. These would be great to eat outside. You could eat them with your hands, and then anything that fell could fall to the ground. So I'm gonna just move this aside, wipe my counter, and I'm just gonna show you how nicely these look. Like this and that. And there you have it. That is our French pizza from the West Elmira Library. Like I said, you can join us Thursdays at 7 o'clock on Facebook through CCLD. And I hope you enjoy this. We have lots of cookbooks here at the library. Just wanted to show you this one real quick. Hero Dinners. All right. Thanks, you guys. Thank you very much for coming, and I will see you next week. Have a great one.